Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Sri Gurudev. All glories to the assembled Vaishnava devotees. We thank you all for being here today. Today, by the mercies of their lordships, we have gathered together again to hear the transcendental message of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And we have one of our own, His Grace SALIKA PRABHU, who will be speaking today. Of course, SALIKA PRABHU is very much identified with Hare Krishna Africa platform. So, Prabhuji, if you are ready, then we may put the verse on the screen and you may start to speak. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Very well.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 7. We're reading from text number 1, and then proper synonyms, translation, and we'll try to render service. In repeating what Srila Prabhupada has said.
Salika Prabhu, you probably may have to turn off your
voice is a little bit low, so
video.
Okay.
Did you hear what I said? Because it keeps freezing.
Hare Krishna. Can
Hare
you hear me,
Krishna.
Prabhuji?
Yeah, I said your internet keeps freezing, so we don't hear what you're saying. So I was suggesting if you can hear me as I'm speaking, you may turn off your video and just speak. After some time, you try the video to see if it works.
Consistent in the last couple of days, I don't know. Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We hope the internet will get a little bit steady so that we don't have interruptions.
Okay.
Okay, I'll go to the test.
If it continues to have such same problem, then you may have to turn off your camera.
Well, we hope it is not going to continue. I think it has to do with my internet provider. So we're reading from Canto chapter 7, text number 1. Lord Brahma is speaking. Brahmo uvacha yantro daya siti yatro daya tashiti talo daranaya bi ibrat crowdim tanum sakala yatna mayim ananta anta maha narva upagatam adidetyam tam dam dadara Brahmo uvacha yatro data shiti talodara naya bivrat crowdim tanum sakala yajna mayim adi de etyam tam dam straya dream iva vajra daru dadara Brahmo uvacha yatro dyata shiti talo daranaya abirat Praudim tanum sakala yajna mayim ananta anta maha narava upagatam adidetyam tam dam strayadrim iva vaira daru dadara. Word for word translation. Brahma uvacha, Lord Brahma said, Yatra at that time when Udyata attempted Shititala, the planet, Earth, Udaranaya, for the matter of lifting, assumed, crowding, pastimes, Tanum, form, Sakala, total, Yadna, Mayim, all-inclusive sacrifices, Anantaha, the unlimited, Antaha, within the universe, Maha Anmave, the great, Garbha ocean, Apagatam, having arrived at, Adi, the first, Deityam, demon, Tam, him, Damstaraya, by the tusk, Adrim, the flying mountains, Eva, like, Vajradhara, the controller of the thunderbolts, Dadara, pierced. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Labai Charanaravinda, Sila Isi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Patita Pavanjaga Guru Shila Prabhupada. Yeah. Lord Brahma said, when the unlimitedly powerful Lord assumed the form of a boa as a pastime, just to lift the planet Earth, which was drowned in the great ocean of the universe called the Garbha Daka, the first demon, Hiranyaksha, appeared, and the Lord pierced him with his tusk. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Since the beginning of creation, the demons and the demigods, or the Vaishnavas, are always the two classes of living beings to dominate the planet of the universes. Lord Brahma is the first demigod, and Hiranyaksha is the first demon in this universe. Only under certain conditions do the planets float as weightless balls, in the air. And as soon as these conditions are disturbed, the planets may fall down in the Garbhodaka ocean, which covers half the universe. The other half is the spherical dome, which the innumerable planetary system exists. The floating of the planet in the weightless air is due to the inner constitution of the globes and the modernized drilling of the earth to exploit oil from within is a sort of disturbance by the modern demons and can result in a greatly harmful reaction to the floating condition of the earth. A similar disturbance was created formerly by the demons headed by Hiranyaksha, the great exploiter of the gold rush. And the earth was detached from its weightless condition and fell down into the Garbhodaka ocean. The Lord, as maintainer of the whole creation of the material world, therefore assumed the gigantic form of a boa with a proportionate snout and picked up the earth within the water of Garbhodaka. Sri Jayadev Goswami, the great Vaishnava poet, sang as follows. Vasanti dasana sikare dharamana taba lagna tasmis lalanka kaliva nima agna Keshava trita sukara rupa jaya jagadisha hari. O Keshava, O Supreme Lord, who have assumed the form of a boa, O Lord, the planet Earth rested on your tusk, and it appeared like the moon engraved with spot. Such is the symptom of an incarnation of the Lord. The incarnation of the Lord is not the concocted idea of fanciful men who create an incarnation out of imagination. The incarnation of the Lord appears under certain extraordinary circumstances, like the above-mentioned occasion. And the incarnation performs the task which is not even imaginable by the tiny brain of mankind. The modern creators of the many cheap incarnations may take note of the incarnations of God as the gigantic boa with a suitable snout to carry the planet Earth. When the Lord appeared to pick up the earth, the demon of the name Hiranyaksha tried to create a disturbance in the methodical functions of the Lord, and therefore he was killed by being pierced by the Lord's tusk. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the demon Hiranyaksha was killed by the hand of the Lord. Therefore, his version is that after being killed by the hand of the Lord, the demon was pierced by the tusk. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur confirms this version. Magyanam Timirandasya Gyanam Gyanam Shalakaya Shakshu Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Swam Padantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padam Kamalam Sri Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padam Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahaganam Lalita Sri Samjivam Sadvetam Parijanam Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Adevam Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sahaganam Lalita Sri Vishakavitamsha He Krishna Karuna Shindu Dinabandhu Jagapati Gopisha Gopika Kakanta Radhakanta Namaustute Tapta Kanchana Gorangira Devinda Vaneshwari Rishabhanu Shute Devi Pranamami Nari Priye Mokam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Lagayate Girim Yat Kripata Bande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Namahom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyade Satarine Namahom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Teta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupadaya Asitatmani Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Teti Namine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Srinivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Brahmo Uvacha Yatro Dhyata Shiti Taladhara Naya Abhi Irat Praudim Tanum Sukala Yajna Mayim Ananta Anta Maha Narva Upagatam Adid Etyam Tam Tam Strayadrum Iva Nadaru Kadara. Lord Brahma said, when the unlimited powerful Lord assumed the form of a boa as a pastime, just to lift the planet Earth, which was drowned in the great ocean of the universe called the Galvadakar, the first demon, Hiranyaksha, appeared, and the Lord pierced him with his tusk. Hare Krishna. So thank you all of the devotees for being here on this platform today, the 9th day in the month of Damodara, or in the English calendar, the month of November, the year 2023. So it's a great honor and pleasure to be here among the devotees, Vaishnavas, to be able to render service on the most auspicious activities of the soul as described by the Srimad Bhagavatam itself, of hearing and repeating the transcendental vibration of the Lord, which is said to be the life and soul of those who have ears. So today, before speaking, I want to go to Narayan, onto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, onto Srila Vyasadeva, the author of the Srimad Bhagavatam, to Narad Dev, the Paramparam, and all the Vaishnava Acharyas who are in the disciplic succession. I offer my respectful obeisances to the devotees who are predecessors in the line of Krishna consciousness, as founded by His Divine Grace Prabhupada. I want to offer my respectful obeisances to those who are colleagues and those who are younger devotees. I pray that by your mercy, I may be able to do a fruitful service in this regard. So today we're starting the new chapter in the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And in this chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which we're going to be reading, which is described as scheduled incarnations with specific function, The foundation for this third chapter, because it is the beginning of the chapter, I will give a little bit introduction into what we're going to be hearing from this verse on going forward. This very verse that we're reading, chapter 7, talking about the specific incarnations of the Lord, the purpose of the previous chapter by Brahma himself. So to be able to capture, to understand the mercy to be received, the connection to be derived in this chapter, the specific incarnations of the Lord, when we listen to when we read the last verse in the 6th chapter of the canto, second canto, Lord Brahma told Narad Muni, he said, now I shall state one after another the transcendental incarnation of the Lord, known as Lila Avatars. Hearing of their activities counteracts all foul matters accumulated in the ear. These pastimes are pleasing to ear and are to be relished. Therefore, they are in my heart. So in this text, Lord Brahma gave the 3 purposes behind the chapter 7 of the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the first purpose the first purpose, which is delineated by Lord Brahma here, is that the whole of this chapter that we're going to be reading is going to be describing about the Lila Avatars, or the pastime incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by such hearing, what the hearing does is also given in this same text. And Lord Brahma states 3 purposes that this hearing of the pastimes incarnation will be doing to the living entity. The first thing is that it will counteract the hearing of these pastime incarnations of the Lord. We counteract all foul matters accumulated in the ears of the conditioned soul. Second is that by hearing these pastimes, or the pastimes of the incarnations of the Lord, it is pleasing to the ear, or the purpose of the ear in the body of the living entity is fulfilled. And by such hearing, the heart is pleased. So Lord Brahma is taking us into this chapter 7 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, the purpose why he is narrating these pastimes of the Lord. Towards the end of this class, we'll go back into the importance of this hearing. But for now, we'll go straight into what are the Lila Avatars. To hear about the Lila Avatars, first, it is important that we understand what are the Lila Avatars. According to the Vedic scriptures, as given by the Acharyas, the Lila Avatars, specifically in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is described that Lila Avatara, or the pastime incarnation of the Lord, are incarnation of the Lord who performs specific endeavor. In other words, the pastime incarnation of the Lord, they engage in multifarious pastimes, activities, not specific, but unlimited activities they perform, all with full of transcendental pleasure. And these pastimes are controlled by the Lord himself. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will explain in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that the incarnations, this particular type of incarnations of the Lord, in other words, there are 6 kinds of incarnation of the Lord, as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught in his lessons to Sanatana Goswami. But in the Chaitanya Charitamrita 20, the Madhya Lila chapter 20, from text number 296 forward, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained to Sanatana Goswami that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they cannot be counted. They are so unlimited that they cannot be counted. He said, but for the purpose of education of Sanatana Goswami, he will give a primary incarnation, which are listed to be 25 of them. These 25 incarnations or pastimes of the Lord, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave to Sanatana Goswami. And they are listed in that Madhya Lila chapter of this Srimad Bhagavatam 20 chapter. And number 1 of those incarnation is Shatosana, or the 4 Kumaras, the pastimes incarnation of the Lord, followed by Narad Muni incarnation, Vara incarnation, Matsya incarnation, Yajna incarnation, Narayan Rishi, Kapila, Dattatreya, Ayagriva, Amsa, Visingava, Vishava, Prithu, Narasimha Dev, Kruma Avatara, Damvantari, Mohini, Vamana. And at the end of all of this listing of the 25 avatar is Kalki, which is the incarnate Lila avatar or pastime of the Lord that will be appearing at the end of this age. But what are the primary functions of these Lila avatars? The functions of these Lila avatars, as explained by Narad Muni, is to attract the mind for one primary purpose, to hear. But before we emphasize so much on the hearing aspect of this purpose of the chapter of this Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada focuses on 3 points in the purport. It is said that one must know the purpose behind an action, then it can benefit maximally. So the incarnations of the Lord, which are categorized as Lila avatars or pastime incarnation of the Lord, as the primary function to enact pastimes, activities, to attract the living entity for the purpose, 4 primary purposes. When the living entity hears the pastimes of the Lord, primarily, it fulfills the first purpose which Lord Brahma mentioned in the 46th verse of the previous chapter, that it purifies the consciousness of the living entity. And when the hearing process continues, the second effect of hearing manifests. It brings Didabhrata as the result of faith, strong determination as a result of developing faith in the Lord. And when one continuously hears, one develops affinity for hearing non-stop these activities of the Lord. This affinity for hearing, when it continues to grow by the constant hearing, and it develops into what Lord Brahma stated, in that test that it becomes pleasing to the living entity. So in the test that we are reading today, which is the first test in the chapter 7 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, Lord Brahma starts to describe this incarnation, not in the particular order. Lord Brahma in this verse is talking about the incarnation of the Boa, incarnation of the Lord. So Prabhupada explained in the purport to give elucidation into this particular incarnation. Prabhupada is setting to understand these incarnations of the Lord by describing it from the material world experience. So Prabhupada explained that in this material world, from the beginning of the creation, only two types of living entity exist: the demons and the demigods. Right from the beginning of the creation. So the advent of demoniac activity does not start today or yesterday. From the beginning of the creation, these two coexist. And Srila Prabhupada explained here that in this particular universe that we are in, Lord Brahma himself is the first demigod or devotee. And Hiranyaksha is the first demon or non-devotee that manifests here. And Prabhupada explained the reason why this manifestation becomes necessary. That the nature of the material world, Prabhupada explained that the nature of this material universe is that it's floating. And Prabhupada explained the demarcation of the universe as half of it being filled with the Garbhodaka ocean, and the remaining half, which consists of all of the universes, occupies the other half. And of all of these universes, one of them, which is the universe that we are particularly in other words, there are unlimited universes, even in this universe alone. And Prabhupada explained how this planet, so unlimited, yet within the same universe, floats as a weightless ball. And material scientists have tried to create a weightless ball in so many forms of it. But here, Prabhupada is talking specifically about the activities that disrupt the natural arrangement of the laws floating of the universe, which in a simple language is the greediness of the living entities, unsatiated desire of the living entity to lord it over material nature. And the first demon was Hiranyaksha, who was mad after gold rush. So for the purpose of accumulating so much gold, he kept on digging until it's distraught. the natural arrangement of floating of the universe, which led to its fall. And Prabhupada described that in our modern times, there are tiny, tiny Hiranyakshas. Hiranyaksha was able to destroy the whole of the universe, but in our planet, the demoniac leaders of our modern times are creating so much difficulties in the world by digging the earth, looking for oil. And even though they are seeing that this madness for fossil oil is destructing the natural ecology of the earth, they're not stopping, like Hiranyaksha. But naturally, what will happen is that when such a disturbance becomes too unbearable, the earth goes into an unpleasant situation. In this story of these pastimes of Hiranyaksha and Lord Aboa appearing, the Lord has to come to save. So which shows how supremely positioned the Supreme Personality of God is in the affairs of the management of the universe. And this gives hope to those who are devotees, because no matter how demoniac entities are powerful in destructing the ecology, the peace, the harmony of the world, the devotees are solaced because they know that they can only go to a certain instance because the Lord will manifest. This is the natural arrangement of the Lord. Some few days ago, there is a trending video. Maybe some of you must have saw this video of one professor who was campaigning that the world had gone through pandemic of COVID in some couple of years back, which puts the whole of the world in a very just situation. He said, but the demons are crying to create another pandemic. And he said already the test is already going on. And when we look at the state of affairs across the globe, we can see, especially within the Europe and the Western world, we've seen that there is a new wave of some kind of flu. And the scientist was explaining that even the crisis that we have in the Asia, with manifesting in the wars between Palestinian and the Israel, are part of the gimmicks of the demoniac persons. But the devotees are not disturbed by this because they can only go to a certain extent and the Lord will appear, just like he appeared here. So from the first line of the purpose, Srila Prabhupada explained, this activities is continuously going on. That in this material world, there will always be existence of these two categories of people. The demons and the devotees, the demigods and the demons. This is the economy, and that is what makes it Kunta Loka. Otherwise, it will be Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha means a place where there is no anxiety. But the nature of the material world, there will always be an anxiety. So therefore, there will be dualities of material existence. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining that this is the act. This act of exploiting nature is not starting now. Hiranyaksha was the first one in this planet to do that at some point in time, and the Lord had to appear to save the earth. So Srila Prabhupada goes to the purport, and he quoted this song written by Jayadev Goswami. Glorifying the incarnation of the Boa form of the Lord. And it's explaining how the earth is resting on the thoughts of the Lord after being delivered from the Garbhadaka ocean. And Srila Prabhupada explained that this is the symptom of an incarnation of the Lord. In modern times, people find it difficult to understand what is an incarnation of God. And Prabhupada often says that sometimes we're not so much bombarded by it's common. There are so many incarnations of God. And it is interesting that there are so many tiny, tiny incarnations of God. Even in spiritual organization, it is not uncommon in our today experience to see someone come up and claim to be something beyond the ordinary. So this path, this mood of trying to assume what the living entity is not new in the creation of the material world. So Prabhupada is explaining in the purport that incarnation of the Lord that is being described here is not the concocted idea of some fanciful men who try to create an incarnation out of some imagination. Prabhupada is explaining that these incarnations of the Lord, these lila avatars, this past time incarnation of the Lord, they appear under certain extraordinary circumstances, just like the one described here in this verse of the Lord appearing in that particular form to save the earth. So in other words, whenever there is so much of disturbances, as the Lord has said in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna said, and he went further to say, that when there is discrepancies of religion and the natural order of arrangement of the Lord will appear. But when the Lord appears, he appears specifically, he enacts unlimited activities. And these past incarnation of the Lord are unique. As explained in the Chaitanya Charita, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said there are unlimited of them. The Lord is constantly manifesting, just like no one can count the water or ocean. No one can count the lila avatars, incarnations of the Lord. They are so unlimited. But for the purpose of human understanding, the major ones are enumerated in Chaitanya Charitamrita as 25. So Srila Prabhupada says that the modern creators of these artificial incarnations or sheep incarnations should take note of the factual incarnation of God in the form of his gigantic boa with a sustainable snout to carry the earth planet. So Prabhupada went into the third paragraph to explain that the Lord, when he appears in this particular incarnation of the boa incarnation, he appeared to save the earth due to the disturbances that is created in the methodical functions of the Lord. In other words, the Lord has arranged the material world. Everything is perfectly arranged. Om punam ada punam, punam punam udasyate. Everything is perfectly arranged by the Lord in the material nature for the purpose which they are meant to fulfill. But when the tiny demons try to create disturbances, then the Lord will appear. Was discussing with some devotee this early hours of today and was saying, Prabhu, this seems to be so much awkward. How are we going to reverse this situation? There's so much of discrepancies. There's so much of deviation. There is so much of distractions, even in the spiritual organizations. What is the hope in our modern times? The hope is what is given in this verse. And the Lord continuously does this. Srila Prabhupada appeared at a specific junction of the history of the Earth planet, as earlier predicted by Lord Balaram, and subsequently by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that there is going to be a time the world will be in this situation, and a Sena Bhakta will appear. When he appears, he will set things aright. He will create a new order. So in the same way, as things seemingly look so degenerated, so disgusting now, it is accumulating. At the right time, at the right junction, the Lord will appear. Now, there are so many different types of incarnations of the Lord. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Sanatana Goswami there are 6 categories: Shakti Avesh Avatar, Lila Avatar, the primary Purusha Avatar, the 3 incarnations. But here in this chapter, Lord Brahma is focusing on the Lila Avatars and the work they do. When they come, they perform unlimited pastimes. And as enumerated in the 25 primary ones that are mentioned in that verse, they will come at different junctions in the history of the universe, and they create a new order. Srila Prabhupada quoted in the purport of the first chapter of the Madhya Lila, Srila Rupa Goswami's work on Lagu Bhagavatamrita. Srila Prabhupada said, the Lagu Bhagavatamrita in the first chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, text number 41, purport. Prabhupada said the Lagu Bhagavatamrita is divided into 2 parts. The first is called the Nectar of Krishna, and the second, the Nectar of Devotional Service. But the importance of the Vedas, of the Vedic evidence is stressed in the first part, and is followed by the description of the original forms of the Supreme Personality of God as Krishna, and descriptions. And he went further to describe these avatars, these Lila avatars, who come at specific junction in the cycle of the universe, the different planets, for the primary purpose. What is that primary purpose? Which is the crux of what we're discussing today. There are so many verses, especially in this second castle, emphasizing on the most important aspect of the human being. This is the core essence of the whole of the narration of this chapter. The whole of this chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam is primarily drawing our attention to the importance of hearing. The ear is considered the most important instrument in the human form body, because the sound vibration is the most important medium for carrying the message of distant and unknown things. So therefore, the Vedic scriptures lay so much emphasis on this hearing. And that is what Brahmaji is doing to Narad Muni here, emphasizing the most important aspect of the human aspect of life. And that is why the whole of the Vedic scriptures place so much emphasis on this. In the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th chapter, text number 17, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada said, when the ears of the gigantic form became manifested, all the controlling deities of the directions entered into them with the hearing principles, by which all the living entities hear and take advantage of sound. And in these several verses, the importance of hearing is enumerated. In this canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, there are so many references that Sukadeva Goswami and the speakers of Srimad Bhagavatam have referenced our mind to. In this second canto, first up, in the first in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, second chapter, text number 16, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that he emphasized the importance of the hearing. Srila Prabhupada explained that the human body, the human life, or the human form of life possesses so many holes, but the 2 ears serves as a great portion of the human form of body, because it gives a passageway to relieving the living entities from its material distress. In the second canto, third chapter, text number 20, translation, Srila Prabhupada translated that one who has not listened to the message about the prowess and marvelous act of the personality of God, and has not sung or chanted loudly the worthy songs about the Lord, is to be considered to possess ear holes like the holes of snakes, and the tongue like that of a frog. That is the power and importance of the ears. The hearing process is so powerful that the Srimad Bhagavatam, from the first canto to the end of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a consistent re-emphasizing the importance of the hearing process.
A paramedic tried.
Can you mute that person? Sorry. So, in the same second canto, third chapter, text number 20, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explained that in the impure state of the living being, the various senses are fully engaged in mundane affairs. But if the ear is not engaged in the service of the Lord by hearing about him from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, certainly the holes of the ears will be filled with some rubbish. Therefore, the message of this Bhagavatam should be preached all over the world, very loudly. But emphasize that this is the duty of a devotee. In the second canto, chapter 5, the 2 chapters behind this, in text number 31, the same emphasis on the hearing is mentioned, that by further transformation of the mode of passion, the sense organ like the ear, skin, nose, eyes are all generated. for the ultimate purpose of hearing. But this hearing is hearing the transcendental vibration, pastimes, activities of the Lord. Otherwise, the ear becomes just a decoration on the body. So this process, devotional life. Devotional life begins from hearing and it ends in hearing. Even materially, no one can become successful if he has not sufficiently heard about the subject matter. So this hearing process is considered the most important of all. But what to hear? Lord Brahma, he explained to Narad Muni that this hearing removes the rubbish that has been accumulated in the heart of the living entities, life after life, life after life. And by such hearing, this living entity becomes purified and it can regain its original constitutional position. So as we continue to hear these activities of the Lila avatars that are enumerated in this chapter 7 of the second canto, once heart becomes purified, the potency of hearing is described in the life of Vidura. In the third canto, first chapter, text number 16, it is said the hearing process is described as a kind of an arrow. In the translation of third chapter, third canto, first chapter, text number 36, it is said, thus being pierced by the arrow through his ears and afflicted to the core of his heart, Vidura placed his bow on the door and quit his brother's palace. So the ears is the window, is the door that determines the destination of the soul. And in the same chapter, in the text number same third canto, chapter 5, text number, society can be satisfied without hearing at the sum total of all places of pilgrimage, great sages and devotees. Such topics can cut off one's bondage to family affection, simply entering the holes of one's ears. So all over the Vedic scriptures, this process of hearing is emphasized. And that is what Brahmaji is telling to Narad Muni here of the pastimes, incarnation of the Lord. The Lord enacted all of these pastimes for the primary purpose, for the devotees to hear, because this hearing is the medication that cuts off, that removes the disease of material entanglement. And in the purport of that verse, Srila Prabhupada says that Krishna Katha is, or the topic about Krishna is so powerful that simply by entering into a person's ear, it can at once give deliverance from the bondage of family affection. And Prabhupada further explained that family affection is an illusory manifestation of the external energy of the Lord, Maya. And it is the own our attraction to material endeavors and material sense enjoyment as a result of the influence of the illusory energy of the Lord, Maya. But this Maya that is so powerful, difficult, almost impossible to overcome, becomes overcome simply by this process of hearing. So our acharyas in the disciple succession have explained in several pages of the Vedic scriptures, especially in this month of Kartik, devotees gathered at the holy place of Vrindavan and continuously hear. One who hears, sit and hear the narration of the past of the Lord becomes a liberated soul. That is the power of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. There is no limit to glorification of the hearing process. So therefore, they are devotees of the Lord. Let us absorb ourselves at least in this month of Kartik for constantly hearing, which is what is the purpose. While Lord Brahma is narrating this pastime. Hare Krishna. So
Hare
I would
Krishna.
like to stop here and give room for question and answer. The text again is assume the form of a boa as a pastime, just to lift the planet Earth, which was drowned in the great ocean of the universe called the Gabadaka. The first demon, Hiranyaksha, appeared, and the Lord pierced him his tusk. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, His Grace SALIKA Prabhu. Somehow or the other, we were not very much hearing what you were sharing with us because your internet wasn't very friendly today. So
Oh my God.
I believe it wasn't just me. I believe lots of the devotees in this audience did not hear much of what you were saying because of the breakups.
Oh my God.
That's why we tried to turn the video off to see if that might help fix, but that didn't help much either. But there were very important things
I think
there were very important things that you shared and were heard. So I believe devotees may want to ask you or say some things about what they heard. So dear devotees, if anyone has something to say or share, please, you may unmute. Dr. Hassan, please unmute and go ahead to speak.
Hare Krishna, Your Grace.
Hare Krishna.
Kindly accept my humble respect of essences. All glory to Guru Dev, all glory to Srila Prabhupada, and all glory to the assembly devotees. Thank you so much, Your Grace, for this wonderful class. My question is, you do mention that Lord Brahma appeared and Hiranyakasha also appeared. And Hiranyakasha is a demon.
Hiranyaksha.
Hiranyaksha. And what I have heard before that when Lord Brahma appeared, she was confused and he don't know what to do. And Krishna became his first teacher to teach him how to become Krishna consciousness. So at that particular moment when Hiranyaksha appeared, what happened to him? Did he also not hear? Because you are talking about the power of hearing. So what did this happen that Lord Brahma hears and he become a Krishna conscious or a devotee, and Hiranyaksha did they also not hear? And what is the purpose of Hiranyaksha? Because Krishna knows everything, and he knows that demons, they are going to disturb us, and they are going to prevent us from become a Krishna consciousness or a devotee. So what is the purpose of Krishna creating Hiranyaksha? This is my question. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you very much for the beautiful question. In the first place, I want to apologize to the devotees. I think in the recent last couple of days, I've been getting this complaint, and I think it has to do with the device I'm using. My internet Wi-Fi seems to be weak. Maybe I need to change that information. So I will work on that. So I'm sorry for the consistent breakups. Thank you very much, Dr. Hassan. The question you ask is a very beautiful one, and it actually borders on the purpose for which we are reading this chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. First and foremost, yes, what you said is perfectly right. Lord Brahma, when he appeared, he was confused, and he had the sound vibration, and it became, he had the power. He performed austerity and was able to get purified. So the question is, why did Hiranyaksha, the that is being enacted here are not in the beginning of the creation. In the systemic order of things, one event happens after the incarnation of the Lord. They specifically appeared at different junctions in the order or in the history of the universe. And they appear as specifically a particular junction for a particular purpose. So the first point is that in the affair of the material universe, for the material universe to have its, to fulfill its purpose, like as mentioned in the class, there must be dualities. Otherwise, it will be Vaikuntha. So there must be dualities in the material world. For the purpose of that fulfillment, so you or the demigods and the demons. So Lord Brahma is the first the demigod in that category, and Hiranyaksha is the first demon. But deeper than that, why would the Lord not allow the demon to just hear? Because the Lord wants to enact his pastimes. So the Lord allows for the Lord to enact his pastimes. Devotees of his some have to come into this earth planet and act in different capacity to give the Lord the pleasure. That's called the pastime or lila of the Lord. So these demons that we're talking about are not just ordinary living entities. They are special souls who appeared for the purpose of fulfilling the Lord's pastimes. Remember that the purpose of this chapter, like we said, is that the Lord wants to come into this earth planet to attract the living entities back to God. That is the primary purpose. And to do that, the Lord has to create the dualities. So he engaged in these multifarious pastimes, unlimited pastimes, to attract the living entities, because the living entity naturally is attracted to seeing wonderful situations, wonderful experience. So the Lord creates these wonderful scenarios in his pastimes. So demons like Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakasipu, Sisupa, they are special souls. In the previous chapter, canto of the Smaga, we've had the story of these souls, how they fall into this earth planet. Two gatekeepers of the Lord in the spiritual world. When I was counting the 25 major incarnations of the Lila avatars of the Lord, I mentioned the Satusana, or the 4 Kumaras. The 4 Kumaras were manifested for the purpose of Lila, for pastimes. And that begins the cause of Jai and Vijay, who later come into the material world as these two brothers, Inayasha and Inayakasibu, and in many other births, just to fulfill the pleasure of the Lord. So the Lord is interestingly, powerfully fulfilling his desire, because ultimately everything is working for the pleasure of the Lord. And that is why in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that by me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded, that all beings are in me, but I'm not in them, because the Lord, although he's in every living entity, the Lord is not in everything, because the Lord does not interfere in the desire of the living entity. The Lord allows the living entity to exhibit his desire, but the Lord fulfills his purpose in the desires of the living entities. And there are several verses in the scriptures that support this assertion. And that in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that Ata Sri Krishna Namadi, Nabave, Biam, Indriyai, Sevamuke, Itivada, Swayam Ivas, that our material senses cannot understand the Supreme Personality of God. But the same senses, when they are engaged in service of the Lord, most especially through the process of hearing, becomes a stepping stone into entering into the Leela or pastimes of the Lord. I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you so much. I agree. Somehow it was breaking, but I'll be able to get your answer very well. So that means that all these demons, they are very special souls. They are not actually demons, but Krishna made them like that to fulfill his pastimes. Maybe if that was. Oh, okay. And thank you so much, because I heard about Jagai and Magai, and they are beginning. I heard about that from Hiranyakashipu. Yeah, was Jagai and Magai. At the end of the day, they were liberated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this gives us, people like us, hope that if we are be able to follow the process, we can also be liberated. So thank you so much for the wonderful answer.
Yeah, thank you so much. The Lord actually is like the father of the living entity. I'm the father of living entities. So the Lord, having the living entity due to desire and illusion, comes into this material world, and the Lord wants to take the living entity back to the spiritual world. So therefore, he enacts pastimes. That is the whole purpose of this chapter. The Lord comes in different guise and enacts his pastime. And when the Lord is coming, it does not relate directly with a conditioned soul. His devotees, by his arrangement, comes along with him. If you have read the Krishna book, when Krishna was going to appear, when Lord Brahma went to appeal to the Lord, Lord Vishnu, he told Brahma, said, tell all the devas to come down in different families to assist the Lord in his pastimes. So the whole of this chapter, we're going to be hearing how the Lord, there's so many narrations, how the Lord appeared in all of these different Lila avatars or pastimes incarnations, just for this primary purpose, to attract the mind of living entities, to take them back to God. That is the whole purpose of the Lila avatars.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer. Your Grace, Jana, I greet you. Please accept my humble obeisances. I'm so happy to see you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Anadi Nidanam Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu, thank you very much for your wonderful.
So I bought tomatoes, so I'll put it down.
So, Prabhu, my question is, you see, this very ocean that the boy incarnation of the Lord has to come and deliver the earth from, the Lord was resting on this very water already. So does that means one incarnation of the Lord cannot perform the function of the other? I hope my question is clear. Because the Lord was already resting in that very ocean. So why the boy incarnation has to come? Because he's already there. You see the situation. So why another incarnation has to come and rescue the earth from the Gabotaka ocean? So that's my question, Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you very much. In our material life, I'll answer it in a very ABC manner so that you can understand it. Why do we have the arms, the eyes, the nose, the legs? Can you imagine if the whole of our body is just the eyes, or the whole of our body is just the legs, or the whole of our body is just the stomach? As we go further in reading Srimad Bhagavatam, when you get to the third cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam, you will see the Lord is explaining the purpose behind all of the reasons why different part of the body is created. In the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is explained that when the Lord desires to hear, so the organ of the ear manifests. If you can remember that verse correctly, in the third canto, I think it is chapter, in the third canto, chapter 6, text number 17, I think I quoted that verse. When the ears of the gigantic form became manifested, all the controlling deities of the directions entered into them with the hearing principles by which all of the living entities hear and take advantage of the sound. So when you look at the way Prabhupada titled this chapter, he said specific incarnations of the Lord. So the Lord manifests in unlimited forms for the specific functions in the affairs on the order of on the earth planet. And that is why these incarnations are called Lila Avatar. They are scheduled incarnations. They come with a specific functions to fulfill a specific purpose. Ordinarily, why would there be 6 types of incarnations of the Lord? Why do we be talking about the Purusha avatars, the 3 primary incarnations? Why do we talk about Chak Avesh avatar, the empowered incarnation of the Lord? Because all of these incarnations of the Lord has specific functions, just like our different parts of our body are manifesting for the purpose of different functions in our human existence. So the Lord also manifests unlimited forms of him for the unlimited manifestation of his desire to in managing the affairs of the universe. I hope that helps. And again, Dana Prabhu.
Yeah, well, yeah, from us, that very incarnation of the Lord has to come where, because hooks or that form of that very form has to appear. So anyway, one way or the other, I think I'll take it like that. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, let me refer you back to the purport of today's test. Prabhupada explained in the purport that in the second to the last paragraph, Prabhupada said The incarnation of the Lord appears under certain extraordinary circumstances, like the above mentioned occasion. And the incarnation performs a task which is not even imaginable by the tiny brain of mankind. So the Lord is manifesting in these different forms for specific manifestation of his pastimes. Thank you very much, Sadi. So just like when we desire to sleep, we lie down on our back, on our side. When we desire to eat, we open our mouth and put the food inside. When we decide to see, we open our eyes. So when you read the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, all these different aspects of our body are manifested as a result of different manifestation of the desires of the Lord. These are nicely explained in the third canto, chapter 5 of the Srimad Bhagavatam. These different forms are manifested for that purpose, for which they are supposed to meet. So the Lord, or let me give another gross example. When a businessman starts a business of maybe manufacturing, let's say, biscuits, the businessman, the manufacturer wants to manufacture biscuit, but he's not going to be the driver of the truck that will sell the biscuit. It's not the driver, it's not the factory worker that will mix the flour. Although he's the one doing it, just in a mundane understanding. So the Lord manifests his desires of maintaining the universe with the specific manifestations just to fulfill a specific functions. That is the statement of Lord Brahma.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the question, and I did it, and thank you for the answer, His Grace Salika Prabhu. Anyone else with a question, comment? Shri Salika Prabhu, you, in the first place, thank you, but you had mentioned that one very strong tool that Maya uses to keep souls in the conditional state is family affection.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if you saw the thread of discussion of the same team on the WhatsApp platform today. So I'm trying to understand why affection to family life is dangerous to spiritual life, if I should say, because you're saying is like a very strong tool that Maya uses to keep the conditioned soul in the conditional state of life perpetually.
Thank you very much for this question, Sadi. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave us a template to understand this in a song. I'm not sure that I can remember that song of it, but I can find it along the line as we discuss. Let me start from Bhagavad Gita. Let me reference you to chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 13, text number 8 to 12. Let's reference the Prabhupada's purport there first. Let's start from there to understand this subject. Bhagavad Gita chapter 13, text number 8. Yeah. Go down to the purport. Purport gave a very, very nice way. I will reference Bhagavatam afterwards. Let's go down to the purport. Go down very well. Yeah, purport. Go down. I want to read directly Prabhupada so that it becomes, because I was following that discussion also earlier today. Yeah, Prabhupada said, yeah. Yeah, go. Go. Prabhupada said, yeah, I think it is still down. Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. Stop here. As for detachment from children, wife, and home, it is not meant that one should have no feelings for this. They are mutual objects of affection. But when they are not favorable to spiritual progress, then one should not be attached to them. The best process for making the home pleasant is Krishna consciousness. If one is in full Krishna consciousness, it can make his home very happy, because this process of Krishna consciousness is very easy. One need only chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Accept the remnant of foodstuff offered to Krishna. Have some discussions on books like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And engage oneself in deity worship. These 4 things will make one happy. One should train the members of his family in this way. The family Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. If one can mold his family life in this way to develop Krishna consciousness, no need to change from family life. Hare Krishna. So thank you very much. So this is the first part of the answer. So when people are arguing about whether we see in the line of our acharyas that they never abandon family. But when the necessity becomes, Srila Prabhupada is a perfect example for us. Srila Prabhupada himself was a grihastha. And the moment the need arise, Srila Prabhupada left the home. So that is what is called attachment. Attachment to family life, devoid of Krishna consciousness, is what is described as the strongest bond of remaining in material life. But when the family members become a support in engaging in Krishna consciousness, they then become detachments. Because such family lives makes the living entity completely forgetful of every aspect of material life. Srila Bhaktivinoda said, if begetting 100 children will allow me to be able to decline my endeavor in Krishna consciousness, then I want to have them. He had, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had 13 children. The last child was Bhima Prasad. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, the revered spiritual master of our grand spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. So family life in itself is not the challenge. Just like always it is said, Maya is not separate from Krishna. So when we talk about Maya, Krishna is Maya. And that is why it confirms in the Bhagavad Gita, Devi Yesa Guna Mai, Mama Maya Durat, it is me. So Krishna's energy without Krishna becomes Maya. But Krishna's energy with Krishna becomes what? Mahamaya. In other words, it increases the loving sentiment between the whole and the part. So the discussion that was going on, in the beginning days, in our yatra, so many devotees misunderstood the philosophy and misapplied it in their lives. When I joined the devotional service, when I was planning to renounce my married life, I got engaged before I come into Krishna consciousness. And my spiritual master told me, Bhakti Maharaj, he said, who have told you that married life is a distraction in Krishna consciousness? In fact, it is a platform for studying one in the devotional service. And when I said, okay, Gurudev, I want to get married, okay, I want to continue the married life, but I need your permission. He said, go and tell your parents. My Gurudev sent me, he said, go and meet your mom. Take his permission. Your dad is alive. Go and take his permission. Then when you take their permission, then I will give you Vedic wedding. But if they don't give you your permission, their permission, then I won't be able to get you married according to Vedic standard. That is how powerful it is to connect to one's family. That's my Gurudev's instruction. So go and get their permission. If they give you their blessings, then come to me. I'll wed you according to Vedic standard. In fact, the Vedic wedding standard is not complete unless the parents' permission is there. So this misunderstanding that a family life is distraction on the part of devotional service, it is when it is devoid of Krishna consciousness. Just like any other thing, not only the family. And that's why Krishna says that ancest life that is not devoid of religious principles. So nothing actually is, there's actually nothing negative. Negativity or attachment means outside or separate from Krishna. Anything that is separated from Krishna becomes an attachment to material existence. And detachment means everything with Krishna in it. I hope that helps a little. There are so many other verses. I'm just trying to moderate this answer so that maybe there are other questions in this line. But there are several references in the Bhagavatam also. Same thing I quoted from Bhagavatam is also there in the Bhagavatam.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. You see, this is one of the many benefits of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. I believe some of the devotees who were having this discussion back and forth happen to be here. They would have a better understanding of what they were talking about. So thank you for the explanation. Anyone else with any comment? Oh, okay, Shriman Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
My humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. So I have two comments. One is, Prabhu, you just mentioned that Krishna and Maya are the same. And then your reference is Daivi Esaguna Mayi. So in that verse, Krishna did not say they are the same. He said he is mine. So I don't think mine and me are the same, means the same thing. So it's like milk and cow. Milk is considered to be energy of cow, but cow is not milk. So anyway, so that is just a comment by the side. Then my second comment is to the Anandini Nandana Prabhu's question. So he wants to know why the Bodhisattva Vishnu is present, but at the same time, Varaha has to come to rescue the hut. Well, Prabhu had already explained, you have already explained much, but I just have one little contribution. In the Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma said, Rama, yeah, Rama the Murti Sukalani Yamena Tistan Nanahabatara Makaru Bhuvane Sukin to Krishna, Soyam Samababa Paramam Pumangyo, Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bajami. So Lord Brahma was explaining the role of the different avatars in this verse. He said, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna, and the different avatars in the world, in the forms of Ram, Narasingha, Vamana, as his subjective portions. So Srila Prabhupada explained what subjective portion means in the purport. He made us to understand that all these forms are existing eternally in Vaikuntha. All of them exist simultaneously. It's not that Varaha has to come because of this or because of that. Varaha existed eternally. All of them exist as his subjective forms eternally in Vaikuntha. So this is the explanation given by Prabhupada. The material situation which appear to be the cause of the Lord manifesting is just the lila, the pastime. But that form of the Lord existed eternally in Vaikuntha. That is Srila Prabhupada's explanation to the Brahma Samhita slok I just cited. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Sriman Vara Prabhu, for the contribution on the first one, mine and mine. In the context,
Mine and me.
Mine and me. Yeah, in the context in which the question was asked was why I used the phrase, it's not different from Krishna. In the context in which you are describing, yes, Krishna is, the energy and the energetic are not different. Material nature is one of the energies of Krishna. And it's not different from Krishna because energy and energetic are the same. But in a different context, they are different because the energetic cannot be the energy. So depending on the context in which we are discussing it, yes, material nature or energy is different from Krishna. There's no doubt about that. But in the context of his question was what brought about the explanation I gave, that the energetic and the energy are not different, but they become different in a different context when we bring it down to that level. And I like this example you gave in the second comment also, that Lord Krishna himself originally manifests as Krishna, but in his subjective forms. And you ended up by explaining nicely that all of these manifestations, though they seemingly appears to be manifesting from the material creation or circumstantial situation from material creation, but eternally they exist. And that is why it is said in that Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila explanation, Prabhupada elaborately explained. Prabhupada actually quoted so many acharyas, Bhagavatamrita, he quoted so many scriptures to explain this point about these different divisions of Krishna's manifestations and how they manifest and what they represent. So your point is valid, and I 300% concur with that fact, that they are all different manifestations for different purposes. They are separate.
Big Zama. Of yours, Zama.
So, but in the Shaitan, I hope it's not cutting off. In the Shaitan, it is explained in Shaitan Sharita Milita that the incarnations of the Lord are divided into the Amsa and the Mohini. The Amsa and the Vamsa incarnations. These are complex explanations. And then when one read the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada nicely enumerate, especially in the 10th canto, in the 46th chapter of the 10th canto, Srila Prabhupada explained the different demarcations of these different incarnations of the Lord. So, but thank you very much for the contributions. Valid point. Because somebody who is not understanding from the context at which we're thinking might be thinking that Krishna and his material energy are the same. Yes, they are the same, but they are at the same time, they are not the same. That is the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You see that Prabhupada also exhibited that in the purport of the verse we are reading today at the end. Srila Prabhupada was explaining one controversial point. Prabhupada said that different Acharyas said that different thing about the Lord in his Bara incarnation killing of Hiranyaksha, but he killed with the ants or he killed with the tusk. So different understanding is there. So it depends on the context or the level of realization that one can realize it, but that certain subject matter can be explained in several ways, depending on the context at which it's explained. But you're perfectly right. Yes, Krishna and his energies are different, but simultaneously the same. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you so much, His Grace Shimabara Acharya Prabhu, for that comment. And Salika Prabhu, thank you so much for the further elaboration also. As Prabhuji Shimabara was speaking, and you answered, I was thinking of, well, we just finished studying the Virat Rupa of Shri Krishna, where Krishna explains that this is this part of my body, this is that part of my body. Even though it's imaginary, but we still accept that, okay, these are the forms of the Lord. And like we all are saying, the energy and the energetic are the same, at the same time they are different. That's what makes this philosophy so beautiful. So beautiful. So thank you for sharing. Harichakra Prabhu, please give me unmute.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much, Salika Prabhu.
Thank
you. In-depth explanation.
Your voice is low, Prabhu.
Your voice is quite distant.
Oh.
Maybe you're not closer to your device.
What about now? Is it working now?
Oh, yes, very good.
Better,
yeah,
thank you.
Thank you very much, Salika Prabhu, for your in-depth explanation. Just a little bit of comment that I wanted to give. First, to the question Anandi Nidanam Prabhu asked, and of course, you gave the whole explanation, but I mean, the little comment I want to give is like somebody being, let's say, a president who plays golf. When the president is going to his office, he wears suit. But when he's going to the golf field, he does not wear his suit. That doesn't mean that it's not the president. It's the same president.
Exactly.
But he will wear his golf clothes to go to the golf park. And so similarly, if Krishna wants to perform any activity, a particular activity, he assumes a particular form to perform that act. And
beautiful.
And the second comment is about the question, is it Sadev Prabhu who asked about I've forgotten the exact question, but when he was making reference to
attachment to family life.
Attachment to parents.
Attachment to family life.
Family.
Yeah. You see, there are certain things that if we misconstrue the explanation or the in-depth meaning, then I mean, and I know it has disturbed a lot of devotees a lot. But let's take example, like biblically, it is stated in the laws, in the 10 Commandments, that thou shalt honor thy father and thy mother. Specifically mentioned. But Jesus, who came, and Jesus was saying that he did not come to destroy the laws of God. He also said in Matthew chapter 10, verse 34, that I did not bring peace in this world. I brought the sword. I came to let the daughter rise against the mother. I came to let the father, the son rise against the father. And he who loves mother and father more than me is not worthy to be my follower. So does that mean that he was telling us to abandon our parents? You see, this is where we say that we need in-depth explanation of certain sayings in the scripture. Other than that, we will end up committing a lot of mistakes. So definitely, the scriptures talk about attachment. Even in our regular material world, someone sometimes shows some stupid love to the children that the neighbors around the place will always be rebuking the parents that they are spoiling the child, they will let the child, they are not training the child properly, simply because they are showing some stupid love to the child, to the extent that if the child is even doing the wrong thing, instead of them to be bold enough to let correct the child, they won't, because they say we love that child. That type of love is stupid love. And I'm thinking personally, that is why the scripture is telling us that we shouldn't be showing that type of stupid love to our family. That when they are going, we know that they are going into the ditch, and we watch them with simply by saying that because we love them. No, that is no love. Love means correcting the person and trying to put the person on the right path. So this is my little contribution, that I mean, our interpretation of the scripture, actually, we always need someone who has the in-depth knowledge to reveal it to us. Other than that, we will keep misinterpreting the scripture to support whatever nonsense we want to do. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Hare Krishna Prabhu, for the 2 comments. And that beautiful example analogy you gave about the president wearing different clothes. Very nice one. It buttresses the point that has been made. And the second point, in the times of misunderstanding of scripture, actually, it is not unnatural also that in the neophyte stage, there is misunderstanding. So when we all came into devotional service, or when devotional service was expanding to this part of the world, no one was coming, even though maybe probably in our previous life, we all have had an opportunity to hear about Krishna in one way or the other way. According to the scriptures, no one comes to this part unless he has actually engaged in so many past activities in the previous life. But the fact is that sometimes the inability to accept that we were foolish when we came in is the major problem. Many devotees want to claim that even though they were foolish, they were stupid, when they came into devotional service and do not understand anything, they want to, because today they have chanted Hare Krishna for 10 years, for 20 years, they want to equate the time they came in devotional service and now to be the same. And that is the highest level of stupidity. When I came to devotional, the first question I asked my Guru Maharaj, I never have even read so much about Lord Shiva, and I asked him that question, which is what Arjun asked in Bhagavad Gita chapter 3. Chapter 2, rather, sorry. He said, what is that thing that impels you to engage in sin as if even being forced, even when you don't want to do it? And when Gurudev was going to answer me that question, that I have not even become his officially initiated disciple. The first thing he said is that because you're a fool, number one. So that is why you are being impelled to do something when you know it is not right, but you still went ahead and do it. Is that because you're a fool, number one? Then he further went ahead to explain further. So, which is what Krishna did to Arjun. When Arjun came to him, and I was happy later years, when Arjun was, after speaking so many grammar and philosophy, when he came to his senses, he realizes that this is not going to take me nowhere. So he said, Krishna, I'm sincere. I'm your disciple. And Krishna started by telling him, say, you Arjun, look at you. You're talking like a learned man, speaking so many grammar. But you're a fool, number one. So the thing is that we've seen that in the life of our present day devotee also, most of us think that because we have understood certain level of deeper understanding of Krishna consciousness now, we can equate our present development in devotional service to when we joined. The reality is that we misunderstood the process. The guru was perfect. The philosophy was perfect. The scriptures is perfect. But our understanding and application of it was completely wrong in the beginning of our beginning days in Krishna consciousness in this part of the world. And in many places and part of, not just only here, in many places in the world, we have experienced. Was it this year, early this year or so? Was it late last year or early this year? I was in Nairobi, and I was speaking to some gathering of devotees in their farm community. And there was this particular devotee, I can't remember his name vividly. Elderly, he was one of few souls who met Srila Prabhupada. Although he was not the disciple of Srila Prabhupada, but he met Srila Prabhupada when he joined, but he never had the opportunity to get initiated by him. And he was telling, he was sharing with me that the Nairobi the devotee of that community now and in the beginning, he has spent over 25 years in that farm community project. And he was explaining that when they started this project, their understanding, their thinking, their intentions were completely different. But over time, they come to realize, to understand what Srila Prabhupada was talking when he was talking about Varna Ashram. But their conception before was completely something different. And that was when he was expressing that explanation to me, I was feeling so enlivened because he realizes the mistake of the past. And that's why he's able to grow into the next stage. They said that a problem known is a problem halfway solved. But when one does not admit that he has made a mistake, he will never be able to come out of the mistake. And that's what most devotees make as a mistake, to think that we are never wrong.
Well, our speaker is frozen
In the
for
beginning.
a moment.
We were totally wrong of us, dude. Maybe some people are mad back, but I know that there was so much of misunderstanding it deeply.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Prabhu, for the contribution.
Thank you all for your contribution, your participation. And I believe it's almost 2 hours. So we may bring this to a close. Except somebody has something to share. Well, thank you so much, SALIKA Prabhu, for the wonderful delivery of the Srimad Bhagavatam Katha. And somehow, due to your determination to speaking, the divine beings somehow intervened, because the latter part of the delivery has been much better than when you initially started speaking.
Yeah.
So thank you, Sheila. So at this point, we're going to humbly request the devotees to unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna mantra to express our appreciation to our revered speaker, His Grace SALIKA Prabhu. Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Panchakalpatarikascha Kripasindhya Evacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namaha. All glory to His Grace SALIKA Prabhu Ki Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Gurudev ki jai.
All glory to Sambodh Vaishnavi devotees Ki Jai.
Nah.
So,